Allen & Company wishes OOIDA and all members a safe, healthy, and joyous holiday season.
OOIDA, representing America's truckers since 1973, presents Landline Now with your host, Mark Reddick.
As we wave goodbye to 2024, we're looking back at the biggest stories of the past 12 months. And today we're diving into an issue that's going to remain big over coming years: autonomous trucks and cybersecurity. Tyson Fisher of Landline Magazine joins us to discuss. Bryan Martin of the Chrome Shop Mafia fields a lot of questions from truck drivers. Recently, the owner of a 2003 Peterbilt 379 came to Bryan, who shares advice that could help anyone who feels the tug of sentimentality when deciding to trade one set of keys in for another. The claims process after an incident can take a long time, but video footage can speed that process up and save you some money. Trina Skywalker and Lisa Waskey of OOIDA's Truck Insurance Department discuss dash cams. And finally, what sort of advice would you give four-wheelers if you had the chance? One trucker recently did just that, writing a blog that's going viral. We'll hear from Ron Mays of Eureka, Kansas. And now, here's Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Mark. We have waved goodbye to 2024, and now we're looking back at the biggest stories in trucking over the past 12 months. And today we're diving into an issue that's going to remain a big issue over the coming months and years: autonomous trucks and cybersecurity. Tyson Fisher, associate editor of Landline Magazine, has his eye on the issue, and he joins us now in Studio A to discuss. Tyson, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here.
Happy New Year.
Oh, yes. It is that time.
It is that time. So we've got a growing number of companies out there testing autonomous vehicles, including autonomous trucks on U.S. roadways. This shift has sort of been happening slowly, but it is happening. Let's talk about the new developments with regard to autonomous vehicles that stand out to you from this past year.
I think it was a bad year for autonomous vehicles, to be honest with you. Of course, there was more crashes involving autonomous vehicles, but there were also multiple federal investigations that were launched looking into autonomous vehicles. So in May, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration began investigating Waymo, which is Google's self-driving company, and also Zoox, which is Amazon's company. So those vehicles were driving erratically, disobeying traffic laws, getting involved in crashes. Not good, And then in October, NHTSA launched an investigation looking into Tesla's full self-driving autonomous feature. Also not good for, autonomous vehicle technology in general. Just a few days ago, GM pulled the plug on its self-driving company, Cruise. So there's another, big corporations just didn't find it worth it, getting into it. And then, trucking specific, you have the absolute downward spiral of Too Simple. I mean, that company just unraveled quickly. There was a 9-figure settlement that reached a few months ago. It pulled out of the U.S. market. Just wasn't a positive year. I don't think so, not for autonomous vehicles.
Maybe not a positive year, but I think the questions about where we're headed are certainly still there. And I think you're still going to see, obviously, these companies push to make these things happen because they see value in it. As we look at the landscape here moving forward in 2025 and beyond, there's going to be a big discussion, a continuing discussion about federal oversight and the lack thereof, because we don't really have it right now. And I think there is a question, too, with Elon Musk taking some sort of role here in the Trump administration and what that's going to look like. That's going to be a whole big conversation as well, right?
Sure. So I think the biggest point of criticism when it comes to the autonomous vehicle industry is the lack of federal oversight. And it's not just the people who are critical of the AV industry asking for it. The autonomous vehicle industry itself is asking for some type of federal oversight. We want some kind of predictability, some constants here. So we haven't seen anything like that. Yeah, the federal government's role in this has been hands off. I think with Elon Musk appears to be Donald Trump's right-hand man right now. Tesla is shifting its focus away from electric technology to self-driving technology. That's where they are at. They have cornered the market on the electric vehicle market. Now it's going after the autonomous self-driving market. That will require regulatory changes, though. Tesla wants to roll out thousands and thousands of robo-taxis policies by like 2027. Current federal regulations won't allow that. And so he's going to need regulatory changes. He has Donald Trump's ear. So I can see the Trump administration finally implementing federal oversight that's going to be more than likely favorable to the autonomous vehicle industry. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it feels like a runaway train in a lot of ways, and this runaway train, I guess, is a runaway car or truck in this instance, I suppose. But we've got the safety concerns, obviously, with this idea of having these robot vehicles all over roadways. We've got cybersecurity concerns as well, and how they bridge that gap. I'm not quite sure how that's going to look, but that's going to be a huge concern as it is right now, but a huge concern moving forward. And we've seen a lot of cybersecurity things pop up too. There was that research with Colorado State University where they essentially hacked an ELD, took control in a test environment, took control of a truck. But we're going to see, I think, more of that too over the coming months.
Sure. That ELD hack research, I think that was the biggest setback for truck technology this year. I mean, absolutely was, because it showed that you can take control of a truck by hacking into its ELD in seconds while driving alongside it at highway speeds. That ELDs are regulated technology. So imagine what you can possibly do with technology that's completely unregulated, like self-driving technology. So there's a lot of these cybersecurity concerns. Again, at the federal level, there's been no action taken to address those safety concerns, and so hopefully we see that in the coming years, especially next year, when fully driverless trucks are expected to go on Texas highways. And that's the big thing we're going to be seeing next year. Yeah.
Yeah. And it feels like what we're probably going to see, as I read the tea leaves here, this technology seems a lot more practical for passenger vehicles, at least at the beginning, whenever we get to that point. I would think with all of these concerns that are out there that commercial trucks would be one of the last vehicles to sort of employ this. But as you point out, we're seeing autonomous truck companies already test this technology and deploying it in certain states. So I don't know how it's all going to play out, but...
So that was supposed to happen at the end of this year, driverless trucks being on the highways. Right. But Kodiak and Aurora, the two companies supposed to do that, they basically hit the brakes on that, which is good because they said, you know what, it's not safe right now. And rather than please investors and roll it out, they did the right thing and they were waiting for it to be safe. That being said, they announced that by the second half of 2025, they have plans to put driverless trucks on the public highways in Texas. So that being said, I think 2025 has the potential to be the make or break year for autonomous trucks. Because when these go live on the public highways, one fatal crash can set that industry backwards. It would erode public perception. Mega carriers be like, maybe we're not ready for this. But if it goes well, mega carriers be like, hey, man, we might have a thing here. So that's what I would say. So next year, all eyes are going to be on the Texas highways and what happens with those driverless trucks.
Yeah, that's my fear. I think it's, again, one really bad crash involving one of these vehicles may be the impetus for it. We don't want to see that, but it feels like that may be where we're headed here. We shall see. Who knows what the future holds? Tyson, whatever does happen, we'll have you back and talk about it at that time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
That was Tyson Fisher of Landline Magazine. Mark, back to you.
Thanks, Scott. Do you have a news tip? Maybe you have a comment about something you heard on the air, or maybe you just have a question about something happening in trucking. Email us at landlinenow@ooida.com. Next, we'll hear from Bryan Martin, the boss man at the Chrome Shop Mafia. Ashley Blackford discusses dash cams with Trina Skywalker and Lisa Waskey of OOIDA's Truck Insurance Department, and we'll hear what one trucker advises four-wheelers to do on the road. We'll be right back. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
Penske owns and operates some of the best-maintained vehicles on the planet. Our used trucks come with a 5-year maintenance report and pre-sale inspection. So if you're in the market for a top-quality pre-owned truck, look no further. Search our inventory today at PenskeUsedTrucks.com.
Capital Reman, the leader in remanufactured diesel engines and components, has partnered with OOIDA to offer exclusive member benefits. Visit capitalreman.com today to support America's transportation industry and take advantage of your benefits.
It's tested and proven. Burn 2.1% less fuel when you balance all wheel ends with Centromatic. Call 800-523-8473 to get the OOIDA discount.
Landline Now. Thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Mark Reddick. It's time for another installment of Mafia Secrets, Advice from the Boss Man, with Bryan Martin of 4 State Trucks, home of the Chrome Shop Mafia.
Thanks, Mark. Scott Thompson here. We've got Bryan on the line now. We're going to walk through a question he recently got from someone who's looking to make a change out of necessity. Bryan's always got sound advice and an interesting perspective, and he joins us on the line now. Bryan, how you doing?
You know what? We're hanging in there.
Staying out of trouble?
Yeah, too doggone busy to get in much trouble.
Hey.
I mean, brother, we're not having very much fun at all.
Well, that's good. Hey, I know you have fun with your work, so, work is fun. And we're going to talk a little bit about that here. One of the reasons I do like talking with you, or we like talking with you, is that, we're dealing with real-world questions, real-world situations, and you do see a lot of those, on an everyday basis. The thing we're talking about today sounds like it came directly from an Indiana-based truck driver named Ted. Looks like he wrote to you about a problem he was having with his 2003 Peterbilt 379. What was going on there?
Well, like you said, we're out here on the front lines and we do talk to hundreds of people, but this fellow was asking us not long ago. He had a 2003 Pete, big, long, hooded, extended hood, 379. He had it for 10, 15 years, bought it used. The truck came from Michigan. So when he got it, it had a certain amount of rust and corrosion, especially on the frame and even around all the rivets and everything on the cab. And, now he's had it for a decade or longer. And it kind of has just got to the point where he's either got to decide do I spend $75,000 or $100,000 literally refurbishing this truck because it's going to need frame rails, or do I go ahead and make that leap and upgrade, get a truck, 12, 15 years newer. And he said, man, I really need to go from, 6 miles to a gallon. I'd like to get something. It's serious out here right now. Every dollar saved is a dollar made. I really want to get into something that's still stylish, still got some flair, like the long hooded trucks. But man, I really want to bust 8 mile to a gallon, most every week of the year. So what kind of truck would you recommend? If I get out of the 379, what should I go for? Give me some guidance here. And that's how the whole conversation started.
And I definitely want to get to how you kind of resolve this or where we're at right now. But just about that problem you mentioned there, I know it's a problem that pops up quite a bit, and that can be a really tough call for a lot of people out there, especially this gentleman. Sounds like he really enjoyed this truck, had a lot of good experiences with it. Making that decision whether you want to fix it up or let it go, that I would imagine it comes down to just dollars and cents at that point. I mean, what do you tell a person that comes in with that problem?
Well, like in his case, if it was just a corroded cab hood and sleeper, I mean, it's not cheap, but you can overcome that. You can make that look good as new for, a nice paint job these days is going to cost you $20,000-$30,000. By the time you replace a lot of those panels, you're probably going to put another $15,000 with it. So you're bumping $50,000 pretty quick if it's just that. Now you go to the frame, if it's all rusted like his was, especially around the fifth wheel, all the rear suspension was really crusty. You can put new frame rails in it, and you can kind of spruce up the cross members, take them out and sandblast them and put it together. But when you have both of those, okay, it's time to just check out, sell this truck, do the best you can, take that money and invest in something that's in a little better shape and maybe achieves more of your goals. At some point, you just it's dollars and cents. It makes sense to upgrade trucks rather than go in so deep in a 2003 model with a full 6-digit, potentially refurbished job.
Yeah. And I mean, that can be tough too, right? Because, I mean, there's a sentimental part of all of this, especially this guy's, had his truck for, I think he said 10 or 15 years, right? That can be a tough call. But again, when you start looking at you look at those dollar signs kind of pile up after themselves, and I think the decision becomes a bit easier. So as you kind of mentioned here, he had some specific things that he was looking for, if he were to move into a different truck here. What advice did you give him? Where are we at right now with all of it?
Well, we had a pretty good conversation, and I haven't checked back with him to see if he'd made a move. But I find we deal with a tremendous amount of owner-operators, and a lot of them drive Peterbilts and Kenworths. Not that we don't see our fair share of Freightliners, Western Stars, Volvos, Internationals, and the list goes on, but a lot of owner-ops obviously gravitate to the long and tall trucks, we call them, the square-hooded trucks, and we're passionate about them. This is what our dads drove. This is, in some cases, what our granddads drove, and we want to stick with this body style. Peterbilt has kind of quit making that body style just as of recently, 2023. And Kenworth continues to make the W900L. But at some point, it's tight out there right now. Revenue is skinny. Fuel mileage is king. Any kind of maintenance cost or any other costs I can avoid may be the difference between succeeding or failing, with the expenses of running a truck and trailer today. So knowing that, and he was passionate about his Peterbilt. He really hated to give up on it, but it was time, as we already discussed. So I kind of told him, if you look at the aerodynamic trucks, which is if you go out on the horizon, maybe even 10 years, if not sooner, it might be all we have to pick from if you want a new truck. But, I told him, look at a late model Peterbilt 579, a late model Kenworth T680. I mean, they got big spacious cabs. They're proven cab designs. They got good air conditioning, good electrical, lots of space in there that wasn't as appreciated as compared to the space in his 379. And then when they redid those trucks in 2022, they kind of updated the body styles, Peterbilt and Kenworth did. They put a much more stylish front end on them, kind of with a smaller grille, cooler headlights, turn signals, front fenders on the hood, tightened up the fairings to where they look kind of racy. They took a big upgrade in style, 2022 and newer. So I told him, I didn't know exactly what his budget was, but man, if he could find a low mileage or a very well kept 2022 and newer T680 or 579, you can actually make those trucks turn heads, with the way they look, from the factory, and then you put some accessorizing on them, some vinyl graphics or paint, the right sun visor, a more appealing front bumper than the black plastic one that a lot of them came with. You can find a truck, you're comfortable, you get the right powertrain, you still got the torque and the road speed and the RPM that you're wanting, but you can bust that 8 mile to a gallon pretty easily. And even though he's going to miss when he does this, if and when he does it, he's going to miss his 379. But I suspect if you check with him 60 days down the road, he's going to be enjoying the heck out of either his T680 or 579. I just have always thought the body style on those 22 and up 680s and 579s, something about them has got a pretty owner-operator-ish, I just made up a word, stylish, cool, for lack of a better word, truck.
Yeah, you touched on something there that I think is something that all of us kind of feel. This gentleman, Ted, again, had a pretty strong connection to this 379, and he was looking for something that kind of falls along those lines. But that relationship with specific styles, right? The classic square hooded trucks that this gentleman apparently likes here, that really is a personal thing. And I imagine you talk with people who wrestle with that all the time, especially when they're giving up something they've been driving for a long time and they're looking for something new and something more fuel efficient. But that sentimentality probably tugs on them quite a bit, doesn't it?
Oh, man, big time. I mean, it's a diehard industry. We like what we like or love what we love, and we don't want to give up on it. And, if Ted was not doing big miles, if he wasn't running 110, 130,000 miles a year, he could probably just upgrade to a 389. and get into something and stay with the long hood square design. If he was running regional or local or just had a little, short run and back where he made, 3 rounds a day or something. But when you get out there and run the big miles, he wanted the fuel mileage, still wanted to look cool, and so it made sense. But yes, our clientele is super passionate about it. They're even passionate not just about their truck, but a lot of times it's like they're diehard Peterbilt, period. Like any Peterbilt, and Kenworth's the same way, and we just don't veer from that. And I mean, that's a really cool characteristic of owner operators and a lot of our customers. But at the same time, it's skinny margins out there, and for certain situations, you just got to make that jump and get into an aero truck and do the very best you can and have as much fun with it as you can.
Yeah, and that's why you're there, right, to help them have fun with what they got. These days, we're going to talk at some point over the next few weeks about, Christmas gift ideas. So I'm not going to ask you about that yet. We'll kind of save that for the next time we talk to you. But you mentioned earlier that you're pretty busy these days, too busy to get into trouble. What are you seeing out there right now? Anything popping out to you that's kind of interesting, or any interesting kind of situations that you've noticed lately?
Nothing like super fresh or something that's just taken the industry by storm. I will say that hey, it's 2024. Economics on a national scale are tough. Certainly trucking, if you're just hauling general freight, running long miles. It's really skinny margin, and you really got to watch your pennies. So we're seeing more customers than we've ever seen before, but they're traditionally not buying the $3,000, $5,000, $7,000 items. They're loading up on the $100 items, $300 items, $750 items, and that's just a testament to the economy we're in. We all have big dreams. And we're not going to give up on those, but sometimes the budget or the old wallet just can't keep up with them, and you got to be smart. Don't spend money you don't have. Kind of rein in the throttle a little bit. And we're just seeing a good amount of customers, but they're being conservative, they're being smart, and they're buying the more inexpensive items as a whole, as a kind of a general consensus. Not that we're not hitting home runs now and then and doing some big orders, but it's kind of just like probably you or I at our household. I'm not going into a full remodel or putting in a new in-ground swimming pool in 2024. I'm going to kind of wait, let things settle out, and look for better times ahead, and then make a move.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the consensus is that maybe next year we're going to start, seeing better days. I hope we do. I hope it's sooner than that, obviously. But it does seem like we're about to turn a corner, and we're all hoping that we do here pretty soon. Bryan, before we let you go, as I mentioned off the top, we enjoy talking to you, and you've got a lot of great stuff there at 4 State Trucks and Chrome Shop Mafia. Where can or should people go for more information about both those things, or maybe even do a little shopping of their own?
Hey, if you want to check it out at your convenience, you can always go to 4statetrucks.com. That's the number 4, and then statetrucks.com. But certainly, if you're running down I-44 or headed down I-29, jump off here in Joplin, off of I-44 at Exit 4. We're right by the Petro, the Pilot, and the Loves, and got lots of truck trailer parking. Come in and see us, and love to chat with you and try our very best to get you fixed up.
And I teased it earlier, but we are going to talk to you here, I would assume here in the next few weeks or so, to kind of get your take on good Christmas presents for the folks out there. We are just about at the shopping season, believe it or not. So we'll look forward to that. We always look forward to talking to you, Bryan. We really do appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. You guys have fun. We'll catch you later.
If you have questions, you can call 4 State Trucks at 1-888-875-7787, or you can go to their website, 4statetrucks.com. That's the number 4, statetrucks.com. We'll be right back. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Running on ultra-low sulfur diesel? Stay protected this winter with Howe's Diesel Treat and Diesel Lifeline. Steer clear of gel and ice with North America's #1 trusted brand. Find Howe's products nationwide at select retailers, auto parts stores, truck stops, and on Amazon.com.
When it's time to overhaul your truck engine, help protect it by insisting on a genuine Vibertech TVD crankshaft damper. Heavy-duty, absolute premium quality, and they're made right here in the USA. Find a dealer at vibertechtvd.com.
Truckdown.com. Whenever you have a breakdown, you need Truckdown.com. 24/7 access to 40,000 verified heavy-duty repair vendors nationwide.
Vendor choice. Owner-operators rejoice.
Truckdown.com.
Landline now. Welcome back. Like tires, fuel, and an engine, insurance is one of those things you just have to have for your truck. But not all insurance is created equal. Ashley Blackford is here with the experts from OOIDA's Truck Insurance Department to answer some questions.
Thanks, Mark, and hello to Trina Skywalker and Lisa Waskey with OOIDA's Insurance Department. How are you doing today, ladies?
Great.
Thank you. Today we are talking about dash cams. I want to start by asking, how beneficial can a dash cam be?
Well, I mean, for us, it's huge in a claim situation. If there's a dash cam video of whatever transpired, it cuts the claim process lengthwise, the time it takes them to investigate and research what's going on or what happened. It cuts that time almost in half. I would guess. I mean, we haven't done studies on that,
yes.
but it really does save a lot of the adjuster's time and effort into trying to determine what transpired. And I mean, some insurance companies will even offer some sort of a break on your deductible or something of that nature if you do have that footage.
Right, and it prevents a lawsuit because if you don't have dash cam video, it's your word against theirs, and a lawsuit can happen. So,
can you give me a scenario of that, of like when a dash cam footage has been beneficial and then how that was used and if it wasn't available? What's the difference?
Well, like if you have a car that cuts you off, they're definitely at fault. They're coming across and they slam on their brakes. You rear-ended them. Most of those cases, you're going to be found at fault. But with dash cam video, you can see clearly that he came over, they cut you off, they slammed on their brakes. There's some fault in that. Mm-hmm. So it can help you with that situation.
Now, these are relatively inexpensive. Is that right?
They can be. I mean, similar to a lot of other things in technology, there's going to be a variance on quality. And so, yeah, you can get them inexpensive. You can also get ones that are pretty pricey, and they're probably going to have more options, a more clear image, things of that nature.
Yeah, I've seen some online that can detect a crash and will start recording immediately, if you're in that crash. So that way you don't have to have it on the whole time, using the battery, I want to say tape, but it's digital.
You know what? People our age will understand.
They'll understand what you mean. I'm curious, maybe you don't know the answer to this. Are there any differences when it comes to dash cams for trucks compared to four-wheelers?
I don't know that there's a huge difference. I mean, the end result is they're just going to be monitoring what's going on in front of you. I mean, some of them, and I think this can go personal or commercial auto as well, some of them can record inside the vehicle as well as in front of the vehicle. And that's a whole other ball of wax because, if you have a driver, you can't just record inside the cab without letting anyone know.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there's a big difference in the type of dash cam. I would imagine that you'd probably want one that's a little better quality in a semi-truck. I mean, we know that your range of vision isn't the same, in a semi versus a car.
Yeah, if the other person leaves, you want to be able to see their tag number, their license plate. Yeah. So the better one you have.
Better quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if a driver does have a dash cam, what does OOIDA offer that's different than if they didn't?
Our insurance, if you do have a dash cam, they will take $500 off of your deductible, whether at fault or not at fault. If you have that video, like Trina said earlier, it helps reduce the time of the claim. So it's going to help cut your deductible down.
Yeah, even if you're at fault. Because when we first started offering that, a lot of us thought, is that only if it's not your fault, if it's a not at fault incident? And they said, no, even if it's at fault, it still cuts down on the time invested in researching the claim. So either way, it helps them get through the process faster. And, other insurance companies, I'm sure, offer some sort of a perk like that. Also, policies are subject to change. So if it's something that you inquire about, I would inquire about it maybe at your renewal each year, see if that's still the case. Because, as with anything, sometimes the wording changes or the perk changes or benefit changes. And every insurance company is different anyway, so...
Are there certain people you recommend to get a dash cam, like when it comes to hired drivers?
I mean, if you're going to have the video on the inside, it can help you with a hired driver because it can be a teachable moment. Are they distracted driving? Or, you can see the way they're handling themselves in situations. But to me, you walk a fine line there of being able to record inside. Is that an invasion of privacy?
I was just going to say, it could also be a huge invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
And especially with drivers, they spend so much time in the truck, behind the wheel. Even some of their downtime is in the cab, I would say a lot of it at times. And so, it's something I would definitely be transparent about if you have a driver. Let them make that choice, maybe come to some sort of a compromise. To me, it's such a fine line anyway. It's like others having access to our phone data. Sometimes it really can prevent a terrible situation. Or like Lisa said, it could be a teachable moment for something, but...
Yeah, it's kind of a tough...
It kind of gives me...
I don't think I'd want to be filmed behind the wheel.
No.
I
do too much karaoke in my
Same.
car. No one needs to hear that.
There are probably some companies that require it. I would imagine they don't have a choice. You want a job, you're being recorded.
Yeah.
I think the biggest part, though, is to just make sure everyone knows. Because what you certainly don't want to do is have it recording inside the cab and then the person driving doesn't know. I mean, that's going to be cause for a huge issue, I would think.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up a scenario that I recently saw on social media and I'm going to try to describe this video. So there was a car that was brake checked. They were able to stop. They got into the other lane. The car in front of them that brake checked them followed them into the other lane, got in front of them again, put their car in reverse, and hit the front of their car from the behind. Now, hopefully that makes sense.
They just backed into him.
They
stopped and backed into him.
Yes, yeah. Long story short. Now, if there wasn't dash cam footage of this, I don't think anyone would have believed what they saw. Not sure. I'm assuming this was insurance fraud. But how often do we see those types of scenarios play out when it comes to trucks, and how beneficial would a dash cam be in those situations?
Well, I'd say probably every scenario, because most people have an accident, think it's not their fault.
Right, right.
In that situation, obviously, it wasn't that person's fault. They were backed into. But I'd say... I don't know if that happens super often.
Right. Well, also, if it were to happen, who knows? Because if you don't have the footage and you can't prove it, then it's just a he said, she said.
Yeah. And saying it out loud is one thing, but somebody believing you is another.
Well, and we have heard of a plethora of scenarios where someone gets cut off and then brake checked. I mean, that happens. Commercial auto, personal auto, it happens to people all the time.
And not even trying to get hit, just mad and
sometimes it's just road ragey.
Right.
And so having the dash cam footage in any of those scenarios is going to be beneficial, and it's going to further prove your side of the story. Because when we hear that stuff, and I would imagine we hear it as agents when we're getting details. Maybe there's an accident that shows up on your driving record, and we get these details. But I can only imagine how often, a claims office hears those stories. And if it's hard to prove, it's hard to, it's almost impossible sometimes.
Yep.
So, that's why we can't emphasize enough how important these are. In fact, I feel like I almost had that situation you were talking about over the weekend, because I was driving into town and someone was just stopped in the middle of the road, and I thought, are they going to back into me. And that did not happen. But in my head, I'm like, man, we talk so much about dash cams, and I don't have one, and I think that's going to change.
Yeah.
I got a little bit too
good
big
investment.
Yeah.
On the comments on that video, I mean, everyone said if this isn't reason to go get a dash cam, I don't know what is. And a lot of people said that they were going to get them. I'm curious, of course, dash cams, is there cameras for around the truck? I know cargo theft obviously is a huge issue. Have you heard of that at all?
I've been wondering about that, actually, and I would imagine so.
Yeah, they would have to have something. But to me, is it specific for trucks, or is it just like what you put around your house or something?
Like
right.
Ring
right. Yeah, something like that. I mean, it would be a great thing. I've seen on cars where you have a front view and also a rear view. Like it'll start out showing, the car coming up behind you, coming in, cutting you off, because then they see the front. Obviously, you can't do that in a truck because you have a trailer in the way,
Right.
but I'm assume that there's something out there that they could.
Yeah, with technology the way it is, I would imagine so. Because we all know accidents don't just start right in front of you.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes it starts off to the side of the vehicle or behind the vehicle. And so logically, I would think there would have to be something like that.
Yeah.
And, we haven't really discussed this amongst ourselves, but we've all seen the videos on social media of other things transpiring. So maybe you're not involved in the accident, but, we've seen people post videos of wild things that have happened in front of them going down the road. So, I would even venture to say if you have a dash cam and you can offer that footage for someone else's benefit, like, hey, I was just minding my business and all this happened in front of me. It would be the same as getting a witness statement, in my opinion. So, I think it could help out others as well as yourself.
Especially the cargo thefts.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so rampant right now.
Well, and around the holidays, they get so much worse.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm curious if you haven't, I'm sure your cell phones are now going to show you videos of this, but I've seen some videos of dash cams that have picked up kind of like, I don't want to say ghosts or like dark nights on a, lonely road.
Orbs and lights.
Yeah, kind of like odd things like that. So,
Sometimes it's just a reflection of light. That happens in my yard when I try to take photos of lightning. Like there's a light
That's what she tells herself.
Yeah.
That's true. Actually, it is. I do tell myself that. But I know people have caught really odd scenarios. And if you're out on the road by yourself, people may not believe you.
Right.
It's like saying that car backed into me.
Exactly. You've got the footage.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, if you do get a dash cam, what should you tell your insurance?
I would say, I'm sure they're going to want some info on it, maybe the make, model, some sort of a serial number. That way they know it's legit, know that you have a good one. I don't even know if it's a good one, if it's what needed, but you have one. And then see what they offer as far as a discount and, deductible lowered or something.
Well, and as we say often, every company's different, so depending on who you're insured with may change what they require. Each company may want to see something different. So again, call them, ask them, ask if they have any kind of perk or benefit for having one, and then ask, like Lisa said, if there's information they need off of that. Some companies may just want to see footage in the event of a claim, and some may want to drill down on the detail.
Do you think we'll see more and more drivers get dash cams?
Oh, I think so for sure, especially as technology gets bigger and better. They're going to be cheaper.
Correct.
And so more people are going to buy them.
It's like you took that thought right out of my head.
Great minds.
All right, ladies, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our thanks to Trina Skywalker and Lisa Waske of OOIDA's Truck Insurance Department. If you have any questions about insurance, you can call 816-229-5791. For Landline Now, I'm Ashley Blackford. We'll be back after this.
Are you tired of the IRS following you around like a dark cloud? Call 888-557-4020 and get your life back.
At Truck Stop, we built a better load board for carriers like you. Sign up today and access over 600,000 loads on the most trusted online load board. Learn why the best in the business rely on Truckstop to make more money and start driving your profit today.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com, because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
What sort of advice would you give four-wheelers if you had the chance? One trucker recently did just that. You're listening to Landline Now, and I'm your host, Mark Reddick. Welcome back to the program. The Kansas Department of Transportation recently published a blog by a trucker from Eureka, Kansas, in which the trucker explained what he sees on the road every day and offered some advice for the four-wheelers who might read his words. And as it turns out, that's a lot of people. More than 150,000 have read the blog, and it's been shared more than 600 times. We called trucker Ron Mays to chat with him about his history in trucking, what he wrote, and what he sees out on the road. Ron Mays is 59 and he's been driving for more than 30 years. His work includes agricultural freight, including some cattle, as well as construction, hauling asphalt and rock. He says that cars often operate as if they don't care about their own health and safety or that of other people using the highways.
Any trucking I've done, it just seems like when cars get around a semi, it's like they don't even know the semi's there. It's like they would drive that way if the truck wasn't even there. And I'm like, you people can't do that. I figured it up. 80 to 85% of the cars that pass me, if I'm in a semi, slow down, most of them will hit their brakes. Well, what are you doing that for? And I have to maintain following distance. And it's like my brother Mike says. He says, you got to maintain following distance. He said, better to have to back off a mile than end up on top of a car. So when they pass around you and they slow down like that, I just start backing off. And it's just amazing the advantages they take.
A lot of the problem, he says, is car drivers failing to understand that something the size of a semi cannot simply stop on a dime.
I always tell people that around trucks and their cars, I said, you got to understand, it's a study in physics. That's a lot of mass, motion, and density moving down the road. You cut us off, we can't stop that fast. And I tell them, and I said, you people need to be aware, especially milk tankers, fuel tankers, cattle trucks, anything with a fluid-type load that moves around. It's, in my dad's day, it was the meat railers, the swinging beef. You've got to pay attention. Everybody needs to pay attention, and they're just not doing it.
For his part, Ron credits a lot of his knowledge of trucking to his father, and especially his brother.
My dad's been dead since '86. He had his own trucking company at one time, but when things went south in the 70s for trucking, hell, his deal kind of went with it. He built it with his own hands. It's too bad he lost it. I mean, my old man is quite a story. But my brother Mike's still driving. I learned some from Dad, but my dad got sick in his later years, and I learned a lot from my brother Mike. We're talking 3 million-mile safety awards without an accident. Mike's a very good driver. The main thing I learned from my dad and my brother, my dad always said, when you're driving a truck, he said, you got to do your job and at least 50% of the other guy that's passing around you. He always said, if you're not watching him close, things are going to happen, and then you're not going to react properly. So when you drive, drive. That's all you need to do. And it's helped me a lot.
In his blog, Ron offers some advice of his own. 3 basic things he says four-wheelers need to do. Stay off my back and don't tailgate. I can't see you. Stay off the phone when driving, especially around semis. And stay off my right side. I can't see you there either. He added that four-wheelers need to look further ahead than just whatever vehicle is in front of them.
My dad used to say, look way far ahead, as far as you can identify vehicles in the distance. He said, that's where you're going to need to stop. And he said, you need to be aware. He said, not just right off your front nose, but a long ways off. And he said, you need to keep an eye on everything. He was a real stickler for detail. He said, you've got to be able to identify far off. And I myself, I try to drive like that. I try to see far enough ahead that I can tell that it's a semi, car, a pickup, where I can see them and anticipate. My dad and my brother hammered this into me, anticipation. You need to anticipate before they do it, if you can, what they're going to do. Because it's a total concentration game. I mean, it wears on you. It's tiring. But you've got to, because they're not going to. They don't feel they have to.
He doesn't let truckers off the hook. He wrote, quote, I know there are a few bad semi-drivers out there, some of whom have pulled in front of me going 65 miles per hour, way too close. However, Ron makes it clear that the bulk of the bad driving he sees is by four-wheelers. And during our conversation, Ron said that in his mind, if something goes wrong, truckers will still feel responsible, even when they're not at fault.
Every day a driver gets in his truck, he has to live with the possibility that you may not see something quick enough when these idiots are doing this. And as a professional driver, I know myself, if I was to miss a car that cut me off or did something stupid and I run over them, even though it ain't my fault, I'm going to sit there and blame myself for the rest of my life because what could I have done? Could I have done more? And it's sad, but they just, like I said in that letter, they just don't care. It's like you're not even there. And it's people, cars that cut you off, they got little kids in there. And it just, man, if I can't get it stopped, there's going to be a bunch of little kids get killed. And that ain't, that's just beyond terrible. I saw a man in a freight truck in Emporia, Kansas here a while back. It was raining. And he literally saved that lady's life. She pulled right out in front of him in a rainstorm. And that's what gets me. Four-wheelers need to learn pulling out in front of us in intersections. She pulled right out in front of him. I don't know how he got that truck stopped in the rain, but he did. And I'm sitting there watching it thinking, boy, he just saved her life. That's what we do. Truck drivers, good truck drivers, are saving lives every day. I've had deals where people cut me off. It was so close. I saved their life. They didn't even know it. So four-wheelers need to realize we can't stop those things that fast. Give us a little room. That's the main thing right there.
May said a lot of the problems that he encounters could be improved simply by properly training car drivers to move safely around larger vehicles.
I don't know how you do it, but if maybe part of our driving courses anymore is if people that are four-wheeler drivers, if before they get their license, this is kind of an inconvenience for everybody, but maybe they should have to ride around in a truck with a real truck driver and see what it's like. I guess the Highway Patrol has done that some. They have an officer ride with a driver, just to see it from our perspective.
We'll have a link to Ron May's blog on our website, landlinenow.com. If you want to make your voice heard on any of the issues we discuss on our show, you should call your representative or both of your senators in Washington, D.C. To call any member of Congress, all you have to do is dial the U.S. Capitol switchboard. That phone number is 202-224-3121. Provide the operator your zip code and they can connect you directly to the office of your senators and your U.S. congressman. Again, that phone number is 202-224-3121. Meanwhile, if you want to write a letter to your members of Congress or contact state lawmakers about an issue closer to home, you can do that through fightingfortruckers.com. Scroll down on the main page to where it says Find Officials and enter your zip code. The site will look up information for your federal and state elected officials, and you can also write a letter right there on the website to your members of Congress. You can also get contact information by calling the membership department here at OOIDA at 816-229-5791. Our program is produced by the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, the only national organization representing the interest of professional truckers in Washington, D.C., in state legislatures, and with the regulatory agencies that deal with transportation and highway safety. That's our show for today. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
I'm a dad,
a son,
a husband,
wife,
I'm a writer,
photographer.
I farm.
I'm a veteran.
I love old cars, fishing,
my kids,
chrome, and I am
a professional truck driver.
And together we are OOIDA.
OOIDA was founded by truckers to stand up and speak on behalf of truckers. We've done that by combining the individual voices of our members into a single, powerful voice. Protecting your interests, defending your rights.
Join us!
Make your voice heard. Join OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Call 1-800-444-5791 or visit OOIDA.com.